Let's try an example now. This is how I left my drawing after the previous renders. So I need to make a couple of changes here. I still have the background on, so I'm going to turn that off. And I'm also going to change my workspace and give myself a white background. Start Luxology and click on my environmental settings. Now, I'm not going to use any of these at this point. You can experiment with those on your own. I'm going to go to here, Untitled. So make sure that's highlighted. Let's click on it. We're going to enable the environment. We're going to override any existing lights, and we're going to turn the camera off. Everything else remains on. This means that we'll only see the white background of my view window. We need an environment, so rather than use one of the light probes, I'm going to use an image. And I'm going to choose again the San Jose Mountains. So everything is set. Projection can be spherical, that's just fine. Let's render the scene. So I'm just going to drop that down and click on Render. There we have it. We don't see the background because that was turned off when the camera was turned off. But you see a difference. Let me go back to my previous image. This is with the directional light in place. This is now with just the background lighting. As you can see, it's much softer and we have almost no shadows at all. This, of course, is a choice depending on what kind of image you want to obtain. One thing I do notice here, though, is that the roadway is looking decidedly checkerish. And that's because the material has an incorrect X and Y setting. This is one of the problems with large areas and pattern materials. Since this pattern repeats itself, if the image itself is set too small, then you'll get this checkerboard pattern. So I need to go in at some point and edit that roadway material. Let's try this again with some different settings. I'm going to open up the Light Manager, make sure my directional light is on, which is good, that can go. I'm going to go back to my render settings. In Untitled. Enable is on. I'm going to take off override existing lights and I'm going to turn the camera back on. This should give us more shadows with the directional light and we should be able to see the background. Let's try that and see what happens. Let's render again. There we are. It's a little duller, we can fix that. Brighten things up a little bit. But now you see the same sort of soft image, but now with a little shadow effect, but not super dark shadows as we had before. And we do see part of the background, enough to indicate there's a sky and mountains in the background. Now this works well for the background because we chose a JPEG image, not one of the light probes. But you should experiment with adding a light probe to see what results you get as a background. I suggest you make copies of these presets for experimentation. You can do that by selecting a preset and clicking on the copy setup icon. Now in the next video we'll go a little further and take a look at how to apply sun and fog to your scenes.